The novel The Great Gatsby was written in 1925 by the author Francis Scott Fitzgerald, and its story takes place during the summer of 1922, and it takes place at Long Island and in New York. And there are three places that are of great significance. The first one is West Egg, which is the home of Gatsby and Nick Carraway, who is the first person narrator. And it's also the home of the new money people, so the newly rich people. And then there's East Egg, which is the home of the Buchanans, and also where the old money people live, so the people who have been rich for several generations. And then there is the Valley of Ashes, which is right between the two eggs and then Manhattan, and it's a trash dump, so it's the home and working place of the working class. And the two first chapters are very much about the relationship between Tom and Daisy Buchanan. So Tom is Nick's second cousin once removed, and he was a football player, but because he was at his absolute best at the age of 21, he stopped. He has reached his goal, there were no reason to continue, but it left him rather restless. As Nick says on page 12, I felt that Tom would drift on, forever seeking, a little wistfully for the dramatic turbulence of some irrecoverable football game. And then there's Stacy, who is this very charming girl and quite airy. Her and her friend Jordan Baker are described on page 14, where it says, "They were both in white, and their dresses were rippling and fluttering as if they had just been blown back in after a short flight around the house." So she has this almost angelic and therefore supernatural feeling to her. And their relationship is really not that well. Despite having this huge house and this great wealth and also a great name, none of them are happy. And this can be seen in the fact that Tom has a mistress who is called Myrtle and lives in the Valley of Ashes. And then Daisy, when talking about her daughter on page 24, she says, "I'm glad it's a girl, and I hope she'll be a fool, the best thing a girl can be in this world, a beautiful fool." And this shows how devastated she is about Tom's cheating, or Tom cheating on her, and how she would much rather just be ignorant, and how she finds the world is really a cruel place for women, and therefore she would rather have her daughter just living a life not really knowing what's going on, because it's better than knowing the cruelty of life, at least, the cruelty of life for women. In the end of chapter 1, there's this great symbol, which can actually sum up the entire meaning of the book. And that's a green light at the end of the dock of Tom and Daisy Buchanan's home, which Gatsby's reaching towards. And since the story can be read on different levels, this light also has several meanings. First of all, the story is a love story, so he's obviously reaching out towards Stacy, and it's also a foreshadowing of him not getting her, since Nick Carraway says on page 28 that the light is minute and far away, so it's simply unreachable. Then it's also about the social classes, how Gatsby is reaching out. He wants to become a part of East Egg, but that's impossible for him. So despite having all these money, he will never be a part of East Egg. He will never have the same status. And then it's also about the American dream, because Gatsby has reached the American dream. He's so wealthy, but he's still reaching out for something more. So it's Fitzgerald's critique of the illusion of the American dream, because he says that the American dream will never make you happy. Sure, it will make you wealthy, but it's not a great goal, because it won't feel as if you've gained success just because you've reached the American dream. So that's like the symbolic meaning that you can put on this green light.